In other words, God has to teach us something about how wherever the work of God is taking place, the enemy is always present. So I want to show you a few things as we close. Look with me now over at verse 20. I thought this was so strange. Verse 19 says, and he said unto him, go in peace. So he departed from him a little way. In other words, when Naaman requested to make this adjustment in his relationship with his master, Elisha agreed with it. He said, go in peace. So he departed from him just a little way. That means he was riding with his boys back home on their horses, their stallions, their Arabian stallions. Verse 20, but, do you see that? But, that's a contrasting conjunction. Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, watch this, he said, behold, my master has just spared Naaman. Spared him? What do you mean spared him? Well, what does he mean by that? He just spared the man. He explains it. I want you to get this. He just spared him. My master has just spared Naaman in not receiving at his hand that which he brought. Do you see that? Now watch this. But as the Lord liveth, I will run after him and take somewhat of him. Do you know what he just did? He just took God's name in vain. You know what he says? I swear to God, I'm going to get mine. I swear to God, I'm going to get mine. I ain't going to let him get away. This man brought gifts. He brought raiment. Did you see those 3-piece pinstripe suits he brought? All that money? I'm not letting him go. I'm not going to let these people come up into the church, hear the word, and then get out of here without giving 3 offerings. You missed it. Do you see it? I want you to see this now. This is quite interesting. I just want to make a few applications. So Gehazi followed hard after Naaman. He followed hard after him. You can see him. He got on this little donkey and he just started rolling. Gehazi is the fella that has been with Elisha for the last 4 or 5 accounts that we've been dealing with. Every time Elisha sends him to do something, he messes it up. He can't get nothing done. There's no anointing. There's no power. There's no efficacy. In fact, 2 weeks ago, what we learned was he brought some poison and poured into the meal. Almost killed all the brethren. Today, we have the exposure of Gehazi. I say Gehazi because that's the actual translation or pronunciation of his name, Gehazi. The Hebrew word means to be narrow-visioned. He had tunnel vision. He gazed in a tunnel. He didn't have the periphery that God has. He didn't have the periphery that Elisha had. He had this one narrow tunnel vision. You know what that was? I want to make some money out of this ministry. I want to prosper out of this ministry. I want to make sure there's reciprocation out of this ministry. I don't care about Elisha. Elisha might do this freely and, the Lord gives, the Lord takes away, and the Lord blesses, whatever. Look, me, I want mine. In his mind, sparing the people was unheard of. Letting them go without getting something out of them was just not part of his operation. This was the last draw, folks. You got that? So he takes off after the man, and the text tells us, look at it at verse 22. And when he called him, he said, verse 21, and so Gehazi followed hard after Naaman, and when Naaman saw him running after him, he lighted down from the chariot to meet him and said, is it well? And he said, all is well. Now watch this. My master has sent me, saying, behold, even now there be come to me from Mount Ephraim 2 young men of the sons of the prophet. Now watch this. Give them, I pray thee, a talent of silver. Now watch this. In a couple of suits. Now listen to what he says. And Naaman said, be content, take 2 talents. And he urged him. See, Naaman is still in that gratuitous mode, isn't he? He's still willing to give. And he bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with 2 changes of raiments and laid them upon his 2 servants, and they bare them before him. Here now is Gehazi going back home, cruising on his donkey, and he's got 2 servants behind him with gold